Well, the liberal cucks at Marvel did it again. They turned Batman into an e-boy, and the Riddler is a soy boy and a Twitch streamer, because as we know, all streamers are bastard terrorists. Riddler doesn't make as many funny jokes as the Joker, but he makes up for that with some clever riddles, like chopping off a man's thumb and feeding a guy to rats. He's a bit less Jim Carrey and a bit more Jigsaw in this version. In the sequel, he'll be like, "Hey, Batman, Robin is a real dickhead, so I've stapled his penis to the back of his head. No more lies." Now, for a second, I was someone completely different. I transformed into the Riddler there. That is the power of acting. Never forget this. The scene where Batman fails to save a guy from blowing up is around the time I realized there was a 3-year-old girl in front of me in the movie theater, so yeah, she'll probably grow up to be a serial killer. I really like how Batman contemplates whether or not he is making a difference in this city, and the audience does the same, because Gotham is a fucking dumpster fire in this movie. It's a hellhole. Corruption and manipulation is everywhere, mindless violence, the city gets more rainfall a year than the Amazon, and what's worse is, you don't see a single pizza shop in the whole movie. Come on, man. New York, Chicago, Baltimore, all of the best cities have the best pizza, and there isn't a single one in Gotham. Honestly, I'd start murdering people too. Robert Pattinson might have the best performance as the character. He's in full Batman mode the whole movie, even as Bruce Wayne. This version of Bruce is basically an isolationist. The non-verbal acting by Patterson is excellent. The way he surveys a crime scene in one of the first scenes, not saying a word, is a highlight. The fight scenes are great. I like how Batman actually, for the most part, is not indestructible. In the last fight scene, the guy gets his ass wiped by Riddler's incels. I was actually cautious of this movie because it's 3 goddamn hours long, but unlike most stupidly long movies, this one kept my attention the whole way through. The pacing is surprisingly good. It's compelling just following Batman along on detective work, and Riddler's plan is both complex and actually makes sense. He seems to have every step planned out without any of it being left up to dumb luck like most bad supervillain plans. As for some of the other side characters, I really like this take on Commissioner Gordon. He's written kind of like an old-school, stereotypical, wisecracking cop, and it really works with Batman in this. Still not a big fan of Catwoman. I like how they gave her a side plot that intersects with Batman's while being separate. There is a good divide with Catwoman's plot being personal, while Batman's feels more like he's on duty. I still don't vibe with the brief romance scene they have. That kind of comes out of left field and just like, well, they are a couple in the comics, so might as well squeeze them together. The performance is great, but the dialogue sounds straight out of a student film for most of this movie, but especially with Catwoman. The best character is obviously the Penguin. They really crammed a cartoon character in the middle of the movie, and like, it shouldn't have worked, because it's like this goofy mobster boss who's like threatening but also hilarious at the same time, and like, it shouldn't work, but somehow it does. He honestly steals the show, being both threatening and funny. There aren't really jokes in the movie. A lot of people complained about how they didn't think it was funny and there wasn't enough jokes because Marvel has made it so that every movie has to have a bunch of quips and jokes, or every superhero movie needs that. But like, there aren't jokes in the traditional sense, but it's still funny in a way. Like, it's weird, but the movie is just naturally funny. There's a scene where Penguin like gets mad at Commissioner Gordon and Batman for not being able to tell fucking basic Spanish grammar. And it's really good. I think my favorite part about this movie, and what really makes this one of my favorite Batman movies, is that this is the first time we've ever seen Batman have an actual character arc. I know, it's insane. This is a young version of Bruce Wayne who assumes that to fix Gotham, he has to take vengeance and brutality out on people. The first scene is him taking out a gang of bad guys beating up some innocent dude. And, like, after the gang runs away, the guy is scared of Batman, who doesn't really go out of his way to talk to the guy. He doesn't feel like a superhero in the early parts of the film, but over time he realizes he needed more than just fear to be a hero. Watching him actually save people at the end is really satisfying. I really like how the relationship between Batman and Riddler. Riddler is inspired by Batman's use of fear. So he tries to expose the city's corruption because it's directly affected him. Riddler, just like Batman, is an orphan and was left behind, but unlike Bruce Wayne, he got no sympathy and no media coverage. So it's like Bruce Wayne still goes through pain and is still an orphan, but like Riddler's had it worse. I really like how they did that. Catwoman's relationship with Bruce Wayne, not in the like actual like romance stuff, but in the way that she's kind of trying to do the same thing as Batman, but she has no problems with killing, and how Batman has to grapple with the fact that he's indirectly inspired these characters who are, murdering people. So yeah, I think this movie was great, personally. There's a lot of potential of future films, which they will probably make. Is Batman, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, this is definitely, in my opinion, top 2 Batman movies. The Dark Knight is still probably a better movie, but this was a better Batman film, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna give this one, honestly, there's not many problems I have, even though the script I think is bad. I think that kind of adds to the movie, because the delivery and the acting is so earnest. So I'm gonna give this a perfect 9 out of 9. But then again, there was no Kite Man in this movie, so dog shit, 0 out of 9, bad movie, get fucked.